Podcast listeners, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Calix and Crew Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Doc Calix, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your morning to come join us. We have a very exciting 3-hour-long podcast with the legendary breeder himself, AKBeanBrains. We're going to break this down to a couple parts so you don't have to take on all the brunt of it at once, this being part one. AK's here to talk about old Super Sativa seed club lines, some of his favorite blueberry types, semi-autoflower genetics and how to keep them, and even share some stories to make you laugh. So whether you're a grower, a breeder, or you just want to have something to sit back and listen to while you toke on your joint, you're in the right place. If you want to get more involved with the crew, come check us out on Discord. That's right, I have my very own private Discord server, entirely free. Whether you're having problems with your grow or you're just looking to build community and network, it is the place for you. Come check us out at discord.gg/Calix Crew Podcast. You can find that link in my bio on Instagram as well. Now, before we get too long and drawn out, let's hop right into the episode. All right, we are on the line with AKBeanBrains. How are you doing, AK?
Doing pretty good.
How's the weather up there? You guys are starting to get some light, right?
Yeah, the light's coming back, but we are in a kind of a freak thaw, at least 10 degrees above our norm. So we're thawing out, and it's kind of floody, icy. We had, quite a bit of snowpack, about 4 feet of snowpack or something that was there. So light's coming back, but it's pretty bad right now for weather. We call it breakup when it normally happens in March 20th to April 10th, around there. We got some hardcore breakup, but it's happening a little early.
Good deal.
It's good for our tourism industry. The only thing you can do in the winter up here is called Fur Rendezvous, and it's old time fur trade or celebration thing that turned into a modern day events, and it's going on starting tonight for the next 2 weeks. And it's like they have dog mushing races, so much crap goes on, but it's on the first Saturday in March is the Iditarod, so this kind of kicks off the whole dog mushing thing. There's a lot of sprint races, but they do there's not a lot to do in Alaska, in Anchorage in the winter, especially. You go snow machining or outdoor activities or skiing, lots of skiing and bullshit like that, and activities very little, but they have fun shit right now: ice bowling, snowshoe, softball tournament, running with the reindeer, where these fools all run down our main Fifth Avenue downtown in different waves with reindeer. Pretty comical, all of the little shit that's going on. But yeah, that's kind of wild timing that it happened. We're interviewing today, and they have a big fireworks, and Anchorage is pretty boring, so that's our
snow bowling, huh?
Yeah, snow bowling. Yeah, they clear the ice of all the snow, and ice bowling they call it.
What are they bowling with?
No, just regular bowling pins and bowling balls. It's just on ice out on a lake, right at one of the main establishments here in town. One of the big bar. A sports bar, kind of big sports bar place does it. There's little events all over like that, but we're that podunk. That's our big deal. There's people that do come tourism wise. People always want to visit the winter. If you didn't come this weekend and there's big snow sculpture competition too, that is pretty cool. There's some real good sculptures. But if you didn't come this 2 weeks or 3 weeks in the winter, it's pretty damn dark and cold with nothing to do, unless you just have a friend that has a cabin in the middle of nowhere and good snow machines, and then you can go just tear it up. Or if you're targeting hella skiing or something like that, that's an attraction. But other than that, I don't even remember if we had any concerts this whole year. They don't send us a whole lot. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's been kind of an off couple years anyway. That's cool though.
Yeah,
ice bowling.
That too.
Like
but on a normal year, we get the least out of anybody on a normal year. So
right.
There's a lot of live music events going on over the next 2 weeks too, and a couple good comedy guys come up here. They're all targeting this whatever tourism money is available. But yeah, we get a sense of relief. All Alaskans, this is like we realized about Valentine's Day. Most Alaskans see the difference in light coming back because we started gaining about 3 or 4 minutes a day by then, 5 minutes a day almost coming back. So you kind of get a different attitude and see a renewal of the sun coming back. It's like a renewal of life in the new season. And after the last 2 years, everybody, being in a different mode, it's going to be like a brand new, fresh year and nice this year.
Good deal. So it'll be good for us to come down and go fishing this year.
Yeah, there was 2 years ago. I didn't go fishing one time because the town that I go fishing out of, Whittier, and it's one of the entrance to Prince William Sound, they had massive restrictions. The town has a tunnel to get into. It's like the longest tunnel in North America, and they built it in the 40s. Army Corps of Engineers did it for Army purposes. But there's a fuel depot over there. All the fuel to Anchorage come through that. And they closed down a lot of restrictions, and it included the launch that I went to. You had to have a COVID pass to be able to go into the industrial part of the town, which is where all the fish processing is. And they had these, all meat houses and fish processing around America was really getting infected on that first wave. And there was hundreds of people sick, and they couldn't take a chance of losing the fish industry on all these salmon that was coming in. So they basically blocked the town, and I didn't get to go fishing. I didn't go at all. And last year I tried to catch up, and things got in the way. Last year I was almost normal, but little shit got in the way. I kept fucking shrimp puller wouldn't work, bilge pumps, emaciator pumps. I was doing more maintenance than fishing, but the boat's tight right now.
Too bad,
so
man.
We're going to go out here. It's still winter, full blown, but March 31st, we can not shrimp, but we can catch snow crab and red crab, red king crab.
Deal.
So we're fixing to get the boat in the water early this year.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I get super antsy if I don't get out fishing within a certain amount of time. Gotta have my therapy.
I'm antsy right now because that is my de-stressor. Getting over there in the boat and being in Prince William Sound, it's a special place. If you make it up here, you're gonna just like, oh wow.
We're gonna make sure of it.
It's wow. The place is worth a visit. I kept trying to get Professor P to go fishing when he came up here on a 4 or 5 day visit 2 or 3 years ago, but he wasn't like wanting to go jump in the boat. And if it was you, shit, we'd have probably went to the Cannabis Cup for about 8 hours and spent about 40 hours on the water.
You wouldn't have even had to tell me twice. I'd just jump in that bitch.
Oh yeah, could you imagine going to your choice High Times Cannabis Cup
I might spend a day there. I mean, I'm going there for the event. I'm gonna check out the event, but if we can spend one day there and then fucking go fishing the rest of the time, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, our events up here aren't quite like the ones I've been to. I didn't go to a lot, but I was able to go to a couple High Times, and the San Bernardino, Southern California one was pretty wild event. Every big vendor was there, and you know how they are, the big shows. It was crazy. That's crazy. That was almost like I guess that's in between or near Coachella and all the other, like, what was the Chalice and all that, so those people are like geared up. I mean, it's not our style up here, like 5 speed slower up here.
So speaking about being geared up, let's get on some cannabis talk here. I was talking to you yesterday, and you said you wanted to talk about some of the original SSSC strains that you're working with.
Yeah, that is something that people hadn't. I guess there was a void of it for a lot of time, and genetics were dried up or missing. And I know there are a couple of real cuts around of some of the original stuff, and people were wanting it. But one of the things that I was able to bring back a few of the strains, a friend of mine who was a big preserver of that original drops of both Seed Bank of Holland and the SSSC. He was collecting just about everything there was, and he'd grow a little bit of it, but froze all of it, and would take it out and check it out or reproduce it one forward generation and put it back up properly and freeze it. And through a younger guy, Blue Pass Skunk Blower, he's on IG. He was friends with this older guy, or had met him through the forums, which I wasn't involved in at all. I hardly ever got on forums, or I didn't really want to deal with that. But I'd lurk a little bit and check stuff out. But he was offering it years ago. I don't know. I went back and did find old posts. He went by Old Detroit on some of the forums. I forgot if it was IC Mag or whatever, but they come up if you search them. And he was offering people the original SSSC right out of the Manila packs just years ago, and nobody. You look at the thread, it wouldn't even go nowhere. Nobody was taking them up on it. They were just like, their offer was out there, and people didn't
Probably
seem to
thought
care.
it was fake.
I don't know about that. Maybe it's just like not enough knowledge. It's just hard to believe why there wasn't some kind of want. I know he gave it to a couple guys, maybe a few of them.
I think for even the people that are interested, there's a certain amount of skepticism when genetics have been gone that long, you know? Like,
I guess so,
is
but maybe
the real deal?
It could have been a buried thread that wasn't popular too. The
That
threads
too.
that do come up when you Google them. I don't know how that. I'm not super familiar with how that whole system worked. I just like get on, find a little bit of information, and then go away again. And but he did have a lot of strains, and then he had offered Williams Wonder and Beatrix Choice and M48, which was M48 was the last thing that SSSC had produced. They did have some unreleased strains that went higher than that number of M48, and they never did hit the market. So there are people that did get those, and it is even available and around today. I know of another person that has an entire collection of the SSSC too, and they're reproducing it right now. So,
what was the M48? Do you remember?
Yes, M48 was South African and Haze. And
nice.
when I know Carl and Keys, the originators of the SSSC. Keys is the son of Carl, who was the original breeder and owner of it. And through years ago, I had kind of been collecting some of the. It was from original purchases, really, the seed catalogs from both the seed bank and SSSC, and I had like 5 of the original ones that I had from 88, 89, 90, and somebody else that had some different years, we got together and he gifted me them. I reproduced them, and I had gotten a hold of SSSC through like different channels, because it was Daz at Mephisto got a hold of his buddy in Europe who runs that side of it. Mitch knows Keys real well because they hang out, and I asked if I could reproduce, because there was copyrighted issues that I had gotten a hold of. I asked if I could reproduce them and gift them back to him, and Keys gave me full permission to go ahead and do it. So I went and made some real high quality reproductions of them, and I ended up with about 5 or 6 SSSC catalogs. And even a friend of mine, American One, he's on IG, and he's on different chats. People know him. He's a good collector of old cannabis, super cool shit. He has the old cannabis trading cards. Still in the cellophanes or foil packs, like old bubblegum trading cards, the old cannabis line of. That's crazy, because you got to buy a case of them, and he still gives those things out. And they're vintage, but he had the original copies of both Neville's first year in business and SSSC's. They're like handwritten, black and white typed explanation of business, first year in business, how the success is doing, what lines are coming, and they'd have a little list of what the available genetics were. The next year in '86, they like hybridized it, almost made a catalog. They actually made, Seed Bank did make a catalog. Neville made an actual catalog in '86, and then the first real catalog for SSSC is '87, and then I had those all the way through like 91, 90. I think is the last one that I had, or whatever it is. But they're like books. They put in a ton of information for grow information that's very, very, very technical, and there's about 15 pages of information on there from everything from step one to end product. I mean, and it's got cool vintage shit like Sea of Green of 144 cuts at a time of one single strain, and it's got a ton of cool information. But the M48 is the last one on that whole list, and it was a supplemental flyer. It had, I think I got them sitting right around here. I could go look at a little flyer. And it had the M48 on one. M47 was, I think, what is it? M47 is, I need glasses. Do you see what it says? Super Indoor Sativa, M47. And that was on the flyer with that M48, the Haze South African. And they had M46 was on that flyer too. Super Indoor Indica. And it, these are a little bit of things that people don't really know unless you bought those. And the Super Indoor Indica looks exactly like Afghani one. And they originally were offering that Afghani one. It had the branded Sacred Seeds logos and shit right on it, but so did other producers at the time. Neville did the same thing. All of the first catalogs were all branded with the Sacred Seed stuff because of that Skunk One and from Cultivator's Choice. So I made about 16. I ended up with like 16 of them. Bodie's friend. I mean, I met Bodie and got lucky and met this guy down in Emerald or something. I don't think I'd ever contacted him prior to that. And I think I had these catalogs and I gifted him somebody, maybe a couple of them or something. I don't even remember. Just like, wasn't a major deal, but he had his friend's a photographer for the 1985 catalog where Neville goes and visits the hash factories in the Khyber Pass, and it's all front cover of it is the actual guys, shows them holding the Afghan hash seed stock, shows the hash. They're smoking a pretty wicked looking water pipe, and his buddy did shows him touring a little bit too. It's very great information, but his buddy did all the photography work and had like a dozen original uncirculated copies of that seed bank catalog. And I was blown away that somebody would have originals, and he gifts me an original, and he had about 4 others, I think. And I asked if I could copy him, and he was on his way to this a few years back. He was on his way to Mexico to do that landrace hunt. I think I forgot who he was going with, but they were all geared up to go to Mexico and regional areas to find a bunch of real good stuff. I think that's when he brought back the Mias, the old rustica tobacco from Maria Sabina and a bunch of other cool shit. But anyway, he's going to the airport. He told me he would send me the catalogs, and I was like, well, don't go out of your way. I know you're going to be busy for months. He was going to be doing that stuff for months on a trek. And he did. He had his wife go to the post and sent me the 4 or 5 copies he had. So I was like super honored, and I copied them. I was able to send. I think I delivered them back at Emerald, hand delivered them back with copies. That's what I did. My memory's getting so bad, but he got all of that way it increased the whole lot of the catalogs to like 13 or 14. And I got some of their more rare ones after that. But their info, it's if you don't have them sitting there to just go to and look for reference, it's better than the internet. It's faster. It's the original. All this info has been downloaded and formatted for the internet, though.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I like a written copy in front of me.
I've either gifted or there's times I'd sell seed combinations. Only way you could get them was with seed combinations. So the people, some of them reposted that information in public form, so it is very readily available. I know that.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to grab a few of those copies off you.
Yeah, it's essential information. I don't care where you keep it, at the toilet, at the fucking coffee table. Piss the wife off and leave them just out off the coffee table, just for quick reference.
Amen.
They're
No,
really
that
good.
would bring a lot of memories back for me.
Everybody had a story, dude. Everybody, it's crazy. Everybody that got them had a story and knew the exact moment that they lost them. It was a flood, a fire, an aunt, a dad, a mom, a FBI. I mean, I heard every fucking incarnation of how the catalogs could go away and lost to history. And I'd joke back and say, "Well, you know how to get them back." Now it's like
I
build a
never
time
had
machine.
any. I got to look through a couple of them, but back when those came out, I was more of a consumer than interested in growing or breeding
Well,
or anything like that.
I got a handle on those in the '87 High Times. They were advertising the 1988 Seed Bank of Holland magazine seed catalog, and that's the one that got him busted. That's the one that brought the green merchant shit out. And I've seen that. I've seen terrible black and white copies. I've seen other people holding the original color copy over in England, but fucker wouldn't pass it to me, the copy. And that's the unicorn right there. That's probably the uh, best photo cover of all his shit, or it's one of my favorites. But anyway, anybody that has that 1988 Seed Bank of Holland catalog, send it to me. I'll copy it and send back my full collection of them to you. I've offered that to a couple of guys that have way larger collection of these, and they kind of like hold them too tight. I don't know why. Kind of strange.
If somebody has that copy, get it over to AKBeanBrains, and I will personally give you a handful of fucking seeds.
I am sending, I'm buddies with Irizing and the Indian Land Race Exchange and 2 or 3 of those guys, and they, I'm spacing out the name of it, but they have that library way up in the fucking elevation that they have been building up in Nepal. And a set of these are going over there to that
Awesome.
to be housed inside that thing. And it's crazy. If you see the thing, it's built up in the fucking middle of nowhere rocks, and it's a library.
That's awesome.
And it's nuts. Another set of them. They're really lucky to friends with D-Hash. He was on IG for a while, but that was Neville's best friend. Oh, yeah. But, he was best friend. He had a lot to do with Neville, and he knew everything and had a lot of stuff. But because Neville's sister was applying for recreation or medical permitting in Byron Bay, Australia, they'd already gone quite a ways through the permitting, and they had all this set up, and they are going to be growing all of it. A lot of his legacy stuff, the Outback Haze and everything that he had left, will be brought back. And but I was able to get 3 or 4 sets of these copies of I sent him all of the ones I had, just for general information, but his original specific stuff went right back to Neville's sister, and she and went to his sons and his daughter, and that's the ones that are going to run the whole entire operation. But she put them in the office. She framed them, put them in the office. It's pretty cool shit that they got that stuff back. The D is the one that made it happen. So, in fact, he had another
He's a good
set.
dude. I wasn't aware that you guys knew each other.
Yeah, he is a good guy. He sent me a bunch of stuff to play around with, but
awesome.
I wanted, some NL2-ish kind of stuff, but he sent me like NL2 and Lowrider original stuff. And
oh man,
it's really cool. But he told me it was going to trigger at 16 hours and should finish, because where he's at, it would do this. So he's just so much off of our system and our light. So we and I've grown it outside, and it's getting killer and beautiful, and come down to 18 hours, and I get excited. No sexing at all, not at all. And then 16 hours come down, and no sexing at all. Man, 14 hours come down, and no sexing at all. And it's turning dark and getting purple because our weather's already 40 degrees and going downhill quick. The day that we hit about 13 hours where a plant will trigger, it's already freezing. So I'm looking at these things, and it was a late oncome for fall, so I just left them out, and there it is, about 13 hours. These fucking near auto, half auto from Pure Lowrider finally trigger. I seen the first males and females, and then I had to move them inside to finish them. So it's not a photo auto usable thing. That's what we're kind of targeting for. Autos up here don't work real well outdoors. The weather is just way too harsh. 90% are not, weather resistant. They have botrytis or aspergillosis or any of the natural fungus or molds are going to hit them, and just they're done. And the rain, the wind. If you got to grow them, in an open, there's a lot of like things that ain't going to work. You got to have like a
Have you
screen
tried any
house
of the
with
original like Siberian ruderalis?
well, yeah, from Neville's original stuff in 1990, we did grow them. They were way hardier and did finish, and then you get a hybrid 1 and 4, just like skunk or pure indica, like he had crossed them to. But they were smoking like cardboard. It was super high CBD, CBN, and it just like it's very valuable shit now because that's the meds.
I've got some if you want them.
Circulating. Well, I don't have. I've got a ton of them in old film canister, the old 35 millimeter, just the ones that went in the freezer. That's how I froze almost all of my old stock, went into those old 35 millimeter film canister. But I have one, and my partner has one, and they both just say Rudy on it. So we cracked it open and have gone into them multiple times. It does just instantly grow them, single stocky, fast, cardboard. It's interesting shit though. No, none of them that have been frozen. They'll pop every time at near 100%. He had a strain of wicked tough Siberian cross shit from original, because the photos, and the only photo that Neville used that were not his own was from D, and it was the photo in like 1990 seed bank catalog, and that was advertising his ruderalis hybrid crosses, and that thing was a polograph from D. So it shows just at the back of the catalog shows a. Let me see what the offering was. I thought it was the indica ruderalis indica, I think, but he said he has the original stock. He had the original stock. It's a ruderalis skunk, and the picture shows, and it says it too, ruderalis Polaroid snapshot from Canada. But so he's been growing this exact stock since 1980s, because this is the 1990 catalog. And he told me he'd been inbreeding it and just growing it, and it finishes and kicks ass and is potent and is good. He said originally it was just sleepy weed, but they had geared it now towards taste, effect, still got the super resistance and durability. And he said he was going to send me some of it, but he sent me about 10 other things and not that. And then he said he would resend it, but I'd lost contact with him. He disappeared off of IG, and I don't know how the hell. I guess we were talking only on IG. But regardless, he has the ruderalis and the auto that might work up here. Photo autos are the only thing that do real well up here. You can get something like a Colombian photo auto with the fastest, best indica. It'll have the botrytis resistance and still finish at about 75 days. That's the thing you got to target if you're going to do with that shit.
Right.
Everybody does light depth. If you're going outdoors up here, there's only a couple choices, Autos that don't do well, you can put a roof, find like a greenhouse with screened walls, just screen them in so it has a ton of airflow. That'll finish your autos. Or everybody grows autos in here indoors. It's so fucking silly. 18 hours of light indoors, wasting all that time, energy, and space. Yeah. It is crazy world.
Somebody's going to get offended.
No, it's everybody can do their own thing. I'm not against any one form, but also one thing people do up here is grow them in the windowsill. Like if you got a good sunny window, that'll get you by with some autos. You can finish off. Oh yeah, it works. It works pretty well because we have the 18 and 20 hours of sunlight, and those things are just jamming in your window. Pretty impressive. That's a good way, but they're, so protected environment of your house. It's like your house plant.
Right.
Oh, it's funny. That's a good thing about that auto triggering blueberry that I have, fast blueberry. It's one of the lines of blueberry that have a root zone restriction flowering response. So if you just put it in a solo cup, all of your males and females, and you want to sex it, keep it in that solo cup, and by the third, fourth week, you're actually going to see males showing, and you can just separate. It's not a dead, locked-in trait, but it's pretty damn accurate and pretty heavy. So
that's interesting.
You can almost just pull all your males. If you want to kill them, kill them. If you want to keep them in solos, put them somewhere else, because they're going to continue to flower at that point. You just deal with them, but you know what your females are, so you just repot them up, and you get these just killer females. And even if you want a male, you just repot it up. It'll just go back into full veg. It won't be blowing out balls everywhere.
Oh, that's good.
But outdoors, it's about 10 days. It's weird. The strain, it's like a photo auto. It must be, because if you don't shave the legs, completely strip it, the auxins are going to make this thing go into flower. But if you strip the legs and put a huge root ball, give it good root zone, it's going to go to full veg and veg only, and just be a regular 100% normal plant. But if you want to root bind a good female, you can put it in your windowsill, and it'll act like an auto. So you'll get a very nice, tight, smokable, killer blueberry, and you can smell the thing growing the whole time. They make a house plant, an auto house plant. So the fast blueberry is really it's an interesting strain. And it triggers outdoor maybe 10 days faster than your regular outdoor blueberries, which finish fast anyway. But this one people have told me they finish it in like middle of September, and they can get it done before October weather starts to hit. So,
oh wow, that's really important.
That's an advantage. That's a really good thing up here. Photo auto or hybrid. I heard that the Iranian autos were like that too. I don't know if it's in the genetics or if it was just got a little bit of the the auto ruderalis type of genetics in it. Or I know there's probably about 10 variations of cannabis between the Chineses, the ruderalises, the sativas, and then there's going to be, through evolution, I think they have made photo autos of their own, which are just a slight degree. The expressions
I would agree with that, definitely. They lean in one way or the other,
The expressions will tell you that. I mean, I've been asked by some pretty thoughtful people. They're putting a lot of thoughts in their head. And they tell me that they actually think that cannabis is a perennial, because it is one that you can grow forever. It could be biennial, annual, or perennial, and it's thought to be the only annual in the world out of 6,000 annuals that has a male and a female to it, minus the fact that I think a radish is very similar. And I know Ed Rosenthal had brought up some stuff on that cannabis is not the only out of 6,000, but other people have argued that that's not true. So I don't want to get into that shit. Cannabis is very, very special for the fact that out of every annual, you think about it, they're all asexual, and cannabis is like that one expression alone. And then you look at all the different lines through thousands of years that have come down for whatever purpose they were using it for. And regionally too. It's one of the best things in the world, cannabis is. It's got every single expression, and then through development, it's going to go to crazy places, I think. There was undeveloped natural occurrences happening to do what it does right now. Very little human intervention, we just now hit the scene, humans. That weed has been around. They have prehistoric fucking, marijuana fucking fossils. You got my mind rolling here thinking about all this weird shit with our 20 hours of light up here. It's so hard we don't get a fair chance on, America. They all have these plants. They get them vegged out and make them to huge bushes and baby them and put them in, 600-gallon pots or in real outdoor ground or whatever the case. And then it starts to flower or start to show hairs June, July. And we're at 20, 21 hours of light up here. So we just kind of get ripped off. I'd love to grow some outdoors that just did auto trigger and regular photo cannabis without doing light depth.
Are you having trouble in your grow? Maybe your plants aren't looking as good as you know they could be. Any experienced grower will tell you that the number one thing that's going to get your plants growing to peak performance is keeping a stable environment and staying within VPD range. And if you're anything like me, you can't afford a $200 to $300 environmental sensor. Well, Kokonaut's got your back. Now, for the low price of $69.42, you can pick up your very own Kokonaut Mitsu. Humidity, temperature, and VPD charting with real-time push-to-app notifications will send notifications directly to your phone, keeping you in tune with your grow 24 hours a day. You can go to Kokonaut.com, use code CALYX for 10% off. That's CALYX for 10% off. Don't let your grow get the best of you. Get the best of your grow with Kokonaut. Now let's get back to the podcast. I really wanted to get into those blueberries with you because that's a big part of what you do too. But while we're talking about the original SSSC strains, you said you got permission to reproduce these. Is this something that we can expect here in the future?
No, not the strains. I had actually, those came from old Detroit, all out of his freezers, all of the SSSC. And I gave him back, a good portion of seeds, like 1,000 of each one after I did the reproduction. And he's a super good old guy. He's like 73 or 74, running a medical co-op type of deal and right outside of Detroit, Michigan. He's been there the whole time. I mean, he's in it for the long haul. He just did that Nigerian Kandahar in last year. Now it's about a year and a half ago. He had just brought that out of the freezer, did a huge grow out, did a huge repopulation of it, and then put the stock right back in the freezer. Everybody wants, or a bunch of people were looking for that Nigerian Kandahar in pure form. I mean, that's good shit that he can just break it out if he wanted it.
Yeah. Both of them on their own are great too.
I had permission to reproduce the seed bank catalogs that were copyrighted. That is what I was talking about.
So, but you have some of those original SSSC types too.
I have reproductions. I have 4 reproductions of a bunch of them. Yeah, I have Durban DTHF, which I got from the Flying Fish Farms. Mm-hmm. And but Durban had for a fucking goddamn month of Sundays, and those other ones I've only recently had for a few years, the Beatrix and the Williams Wonder. That's something that people should check out. The Williams Wonder grows a beautiful, like Afghani, dark green, stout, thick, tough. Grows just killer, nice frosty buds. They're huge. Grows good outdoors, indoors. Can get a little botrytis because the buds are 4 inches thick. Even if you don't even try, the buds will get huge. So you have air movement or a roof over them, son of a bitches. I did a lot of cold weather resistance testing up here. That's all I can do. And those fuckers will rot.
Yeah, I never did get to throw that Williams Wonder. But
I've got a couple of people that I just give it back to where they're going, that was my thing and it was my favorite and this and that. What's interesting about the Williams Wonder is the man who invented, but bred the Williams Wonder is nobody really knew him or knew the story. I mean, Carl says that they got the strain in New York. The originator of Williams Wonder made it in Williams, Oregon in the late 70s. And he used to live in Santa Cruz. And he was like 18 in Santa Cruz. He moved up to Williams, but he brought all his Santa Cruz stock, which at the time was like Mexican imports. And, you're only going to get so much shit that was coming in. But he met a grower in Williams who had a solid line of Afghan, and that's all it was called, was Afghani. And they crossed what he said was Oaxacan that he brought up from Santa Cruz, his original Oaxacan shit. I mean, I've seen the pictures of this fucking cat at 18. You know how people look he was a badass motherfucker. You know, he almost looked like a Santa Cruz weed pirate or something. His pictures were, it was the real deal. And then, such an honor to meet old cats. He's like 75 now. He's still growing. I had to meet him. His name's Dave Stanley. He lives in fucking Williams Wonder. I mean, over in Williams, Oregon. Still, you know, he's a tough fucker, chopping wood. Snow gets deep as shit. He's a tough son of a bitch. But he grew the Williams again because I gave it back to him. First time since he'd lost the seed stock. He'd go to Hawaii in the 80s. You know, he'd go to Hawaii and spend a couple months over in the islands and bring like a suitcase of weed, go to the condo, chill out. During that time, he had the seed stock in a jar and fucking mice got into it and killed it all. Ate it. That was one of the last trips to Hawaii. But prior trips to that, when he was still super into it and having the seed stock and production, he met Willie Nelson over there, and him and Willie Nelson got together, hit it off. They both have a fucking suitcase full of weed, trading out their shit. But Willie Nelson really liked David's weed. Dave gave him a shitload of seed. And the next year, when they met up in Hawaii, fucking Willie Nelson had a suitcase full of fucking weed, and they break it out and laugh. And he says, "This is what I call Willie's weed." And it was fucking the Williams Wonder seed reproduced from fucking direct connection to fucking Willie Nelson. That's right out of Dave Stanley's fucking mouth. He had a ton of old story. I love talk to these old guys. I can get on the phone. And talk to them, and an honor to fucking hear any of these old stories and get some information from the old guys, because they're not going to be around for very long. If I didn't hear it, nobody would say shit. His son owns Ziploc seeds, and he would say that my dad invented Williams Wonder, and I don't think anybody ever fucking once heard it.
You know, my biggest experience with it has been the crosses that P did with it, with the Williams Wonder, and he did a great work with that.
Shit, cross is good.
Oh yeah, it's some of my favorite shit I've grown from him.
I just remade a couple of crosses of the Williams Wonder to my vintage blueberry. It was kind of like the opposite of what P had made the Blue Magoo. DJ Short's blueberry and Williams Wonder. I did the opposite, male to female backwards deal, but it was the SSSC F3 I used for my vintage blueberry. So it is damn good weed. It's different. His come out different. I grew his Blue Magoo. It's really killer weed. It grew a certain way and did a certain thing. Mine does something else, but it's one of the ones I think should be grown. That's a really nice one. Beautiful and smokes good.
I promote the Blue Magoo backcross twice a lot, and I think you would be happy about this, but Chris told me the other day that he's about to release or maybe he already has, the backcross 3, and he said that backcross is way heavier on the Williams Wonder side. It really resembles the mother.
He's always working, so he puts in the work, and I know for a fact he did get some of his blueberry is the same blueberry I use. So when we get into the blueberry stuff, because the best blueberry that he's ever found, and that's what he claims, the best, sweetest blueberry he's found is the Goose Bay blueberry. It came from a friend of mine up here. His name is Greedy.
Oh, AK Legends?
AK Legend. Yeah, he had about 20 years of that Goose Bay blueberry. It's right where he lived. His house was right there at Goose Bay. And it became pretty good brand name shit. Even though it was black market days, it was a sought after brand name. People went for KGBB. Mm-hmm. KGB has always been a thing, killer green bud, but fucking KGBB is a fucking term that's been locked in up here for a long time. Some people will call it Goose Bay, but I've heard that there's a Canadian Goose Bay blueberry too, so it's very confusing. It was probably a local blueberry. Canada had a shitload of blueberries.
Canada's got a lot of blueberries, yeah.
Yes, they do. In the East Coast,
I've heard the Canic, I've heard the Goose Bay, I've heard just regular Canadian blueberry.
Ton of blueberries over there. Like the mother of berries was basically down from like a good blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's so many good berries like that. I did cross the mother of berries I made a shitload of that mother of berries and 907 blue jeans, and 907 blue jeans is the Connect Goose Bay blueberry to my vintage blueberry. It's probably my best straight go-to sweet blueberry, that 907 blue jeans. You can just straight get a handful of girls out of that every time that are going to be. You might have to go through 5 of them and flip a coin and have a couple people smoke out on them to get a one. I re-veg 4 or 5 every time. I'll pick like, oh well, that's one for sure, but these 4 are right there with it. So fuck it, we'll rerun it and see what happens. That mother of berries is real interesting. It grows killer big old nice fruity big donks, and it has green leaf, and then the calyxes at about 6 weeks they start turning purple inside, so the bud turns colors.
This is on the vintage?
Plant. No, mother of berries. I'm saying.
Oh, on the mother of berries.
Just to be straight, you know how it's weird how certain plants have some purple, some will have purple when they turn purple, like Canna or say Gooey Breeder, the guy Canna Exotics. I mean, he'll have purple cord buds that just are naturally purple that start up at 2 to 3 weeks in, and these motherfuckers turn purple from the core on up, and then other ones have purple in different ways, and they'll have purple petiole, purple vein down the middle of the leaf vein, and then have start to purple up that way later on, and some have purple leaf, and then green inside the whole bud. It'd be a purple exterior from maybe photosynthesis or cooling, and those purples express one way. It's so weird how the purple, there's probably 4 or 5 different expressions in purples. Some have a purple underskirt, some won't have any. Some will be a purple top and green bottom. Some will have fucking purple top and purple bottom. So
many variations.
Cool. That's the best thing about the cannabis. I get crazy about combinations and wanting to bring out the expression. So my mind's like, oh no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and oh man, I can target some shit, but it's there's so much more can be done.
Oh yeah. I think one of the best ways that I've ever heard is when it comes to breeding, it's an art, and you're the painter, and you're going to create it, within your vision of what you want.
I got a good handle on breeding because my whole life I've just bred animals. I'm at a very, very early age. I say 6th grade. I had meat rabbit breeding project that was making me money because, as a kid, I was pretty damned enterprising. I worked and I did shit to make money, but that was one thing I learned was breeding rabbits right quick on. But then through Future Farmers of America and vocational agriculture courses, in school, I learned a lot about breeding animals and learned how to castrate pigs. And, we did that shit right in class, castrate fucking pigs. Everybody got one chance at it. And you don't want to bleed your pig to death. You got to do that shit right. And then I went and did judging, a little bit of judging as apprentice judge at like a different state fair, playing around with it. And I learned all of the cow breeds, all of the chicken breeds, all of the pig breeds. And back then there was like 40 cows, 30 fucking pigs, or 20 pigs and 30 chickens. Now there's like hundreds of fucking each. Stupid. So you couldn't keep up on the breeding. But I did American Bulldogs from 87 on. I crazy. I saw my first in like 84, saw a guy called American Standard Pit Bull. Biggest, baddest fucking dog I've ever seen. And it wasn't a pit bull terrier. There's no terrier in these dogs. And he's in Oregon. He's a native guy, American Indian. And the wicked fucking brindle and white, badass patched up bulldogs. And it's like, I thought 5 years, I was thinking, man, that's the baddest dog I've ever seen. They just call it American Standard Pit Bull. And 89, I got into researching them in 87. My one original girl, my partner's cousin, he has one of these dogs. He had a couple of them called Suds and Scratch and Suds. And he's going to go over to Hawaii. He did construction work. He just like he sent his fucking bike over there, his hot rod Camaro, 68 Camaro, and take all his tools. And he'd work over there 6 months at a time. He left me his dogs. I thought they were something else. So at the end of that year, I went and targeted American Bulldogs, and it's like they're called American Standard. There was one's called Bully, the Johnson Bulldog line, the American Standard or Allen Scott line, and then there was Old Southern White lines, and then there was Country Bulldog lines. And I realized, man, they're everywhere. They're all over the fucking place because the Johnson Bulldog has English Bulldog in it. They're a 100 and at the time 140-pound, just like herd machine, and the other ones are working bulldogs. They'd be catching, doing cattle herding, pig catching, straight up utility farm work of every fucking way, shape, and form. And then the country bulldogs, there's cracker bulldogs down in fucking Florida that, that they do work with these dogs fierce. Alan Scott, the originator of the standard bulldog, he'd do like wild cattle roundups on islands down in the Florida swamps and use these bulldogs for that. But I get the dogs and they're a fucking mess. There ain't one of them that's healthy. They have bad hips, dysplasia. They have entropic eyes, ectropic eyes, bad elbow, mange, both demodectic and scarpotic. And oh my God, they're a fucking mess. And
the depth of what you understand about breeding is beyond.
Some have like brachycephalic fucking throats, like the Frenchies and the English bulldogs, and some have clear throats, and oh Jesus! So we weed through this shit and have every expression of a dog coming out, and it was like polyhybrids of polyhybrids of polyhybrids, like the current fucking scene that is today in cannabis. And we try to get some normality of it. I started doing a massive amount of testing for hips and skin. We got a lot of long way. We went with Penn Hip, which is the University of Pennsylvania, and the OFA, Orthopedic Foundation of Animals. My vet at Hillside Wellness Center here, she took my money for a lot of times, 200 to 300 tests. I think I've done 60, 70 tests, and I'd get to be involved with it because I'd be the one that would extract. You put the dog, anesthetize them, put them on a ventilator. You got to extract the pen hip. Is actually pop that you displace their fucking hips, and you do this with hundreds of pounds of force. You spread them on a table, pop their hips out of fucking joint, and measure it. Then another one where you press them in, you put their hips together, put your knees together, and press in. And then there's another one where you stretch them out lengthwise, and that's an OFA view. So through all these combinations of fucking views and calculations, and 4 or 5 different vets determine that the dog's got a rating. So it's pen hip rating. And OFA does rating too. There's OFA excellent and shit. There's only like 1 or 2 American Bulldogs ever made the OFA excellent rating. So anyway, I got them up good enough to where I produced OFA excellent dogs, but it wasn't many of them. I produced one. I got the OFA rating from like 80 percentile, which was loose as shit, 80 and 90th percentile. Loose as shit, dog's going to be crippled from dysplasia. So we got it down to the 10th percentile, and we were fucking jamming on the improvement on these dogs. Nice. We didn't have no more fucking ectropic eyes, entropia. And I was still inbreeding. I did fucking grandfather to granddaughter. I did half brother to half sister. I inbred is the only way I could clean it up. Right. And I inbred fresh where I didn't want to fucking, you don't want to do straight father. A lot of the Bull Terrier guys that have winning champion dogs, they do father to daughter and do a ton of inbreeding and ton of it. And they lock that shit down, but you're going to lock down any of your issues. So if you had a perfect dog, you could do that, but you ain't going to fucking do that with a dog that has issues. You want to keep a somewhat fresh. But anyway, I'd get a coefficiency on my dogs where I liked them. I'd carry them down to, big confirmation shows, or the confirmation show would have protection tournament and testing and training and certification and all this for working dogs. There's something called the Working American Bulldog Association, and they did titling and testing, and there was tons, Schutzen, there was PSA. These are all protection sports that are hardcore. KNA, there's a ton of these motherfuckers. So I'd go down there, dogs right off the couch from Alaska. I'd go wild boar hunting at night because it was in regions like you'd have the show at Watsonville, California, and Salinas is right there. That's right, the main center of wild boars in California. I have friends that are true dog men, and they're in books about this shit. They're fucking famous true dog men. They take me on the biggest ranches in California. Still to this day, I got invite to go on billionaires' fucking properties to hunt these pigs. I mean, this guy's got gate key and key codes for places where it's insane what he can get into to go pig hunting.
I remember you telling me about that guy.
I'd go onto his ranches and pig hunt at night and show up at that confirmation show. I'd hunt all night. And we'd smack some pigs, and I'd get the dog boxes like a rental truck, Hertz rental truck or whatever. You know, I'd put the pig on the dog box, put the stick in its mouth where the fucking tusks are sticking out. I'd roll through the dog show at about 11 o'clock. It's already rolling, starting maybe about 10, getting very active. They're already doing confirmation and all this bullshit protection and just shows and all this crap's going on. I roll through, and every one of them motherfuckers have to turn and look at that boar on the back of my deal. And then I'd run back to the ranch, put that thing in the meat cooler, run over to I never once slept, I don't think ever. We'd show back up at the show with the bulldogs that caught the damn pigs. So we've made our mark in the whole thing. They'd call me that asshole from Alaska because I'm not like being an asshole. I'm just louder and more. I'm on coffee, and I like
Unfiltered.
I like my shit.
Unfiltered.
Shit, you know? So we put our mark in. I go down to Texas, and they about get your ass fucking kicked in Texas. A bunch of guys down there are a little bit tougher. They ain't gonna take it like California guys. So I'd get mouthy down there, and I'd have 4 or 5 guys talking together in a group, and I'm not thinking I'm gonna have to get into a fight over the shit. But I'd hold my own. I'd steal a couple of their confirmation points where they couldn't champion their dog out. I'd go back to Alaska. I did that same multiple times. So I did grand champion dogs out there. I made dogs that were good. I improved them enough to where I made dual grand champion dogs. I won 7 best in shows with 1 female. A female
awesome, man.
When you're doing best in show with a female, you're beating the other strain of dogs, the bully dogs. That's your class. You're beating the next class. Then you beat the best male in that class. Then you beat the best male in that show. You fucking win the best in show with a female 7 fucking times in a row. You've gone somewhere with the dogs. This is like a lot of work though. But that gave me a straight up idea how to give me a lot of help on doing cannabis the whole time, besides breeding pigs too. A lot of fucking pig breeding. I go to straight semen farms, just get pigs, do all my own AIs. So Alaska's pig stock sucked.
Did you ever hit up that guy I told you about?
I tried to yesterday, that it didn't come up.
I'm gonna send you that profile.
I put in the farmer_fly, and nothing came up. There's like the fly farmer and the flying farmer, and I was like, oh my god!
I'll send you his profile. I'll make sure you guys get connected.
Right down the rabbit hole of looking for this guy. Yeah, I got to get me some damn Shetland chickens.
He's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy. You guys will get along for sure. I appreciate
that. Just lucky as hell, because that's a near extinct strain of chicken. My main interest in breeding cannabis, a lot of it is a one-time thing I happened to get my hands on. Somebody collected it and fucking whatever. Some of it very rare. Like the guy's collecting shit in Nepal in 77. I get my hands on it. I'm gonna fucking preserve it. If it don't come out pure to itself, I'm gonna process it to something they would express good with it or whatever. But that's how I am. If I hear Shetland chicken is almost extinct in the world, it's a blue egg layer, which genetics originally comes from South America by way of Spaniard conquistadors going up into Northern Europe. This genetics finally ends up, because the only blue eggers in the world is the Shetland chicken and the fucking cream leg bar, and that's like a Sussex, England. But yeah, you're hooking me up. If I have Shetland chickens this year, I'll probably have my chicken fix. I'll be done with chickens for.
I don't know exactly what he's got, but I know his main focus is chickens and pigs. And when you said that name the other day, I've heard it before, and I think he'd be the only person that ran that by me.
Yeah, I ordered up 15 fucking cream leg or opal leg bars this morning. That's one of the only. I mean, they just came into America in like 11. A lot of these chicken strains had never come to America. They had been banned from importation, and a lot of them are fucking Dutch, German, English, and Greenfire Farms is one that brought in most of these really killer lines, the French Marins and the leg bars. And now they're getting distributed everywhere. It's kind of like the elite cannabis cut. One person finds it, develop it, gets the word out, and it spreads out. Each person that gets it, if it's not on lockdown, they do whatever they want with it. So some people would bootleg it at quarter of the price or give it out or whatever. So the chickens have come that way. $5,000 chicken a few years ago is now you can get $30 set of hatching eggs on eBay. Fucking funny as shit.
Yeah. Well, let's reroute really quick
Ah,
back to the blueberry because I don't know about you, but I'm about to light up right now.
I'm gonna finish that fucking other half of my blueberry joint.
I never asked. Is that what you were smoking on? And which blueberry was it?
An older blueberry.
Oh,
You know,
oh
the
yes,
one I
yes,
fed,
the one that we
the
can.
older,
Yeah, gotcha.
older blueberry. I'd
It's-
gladly send it to you. You'd fucking grow it and love it.
dude, fuck yeah. I am about to light up right now one of the collaborations that you did with it's the Goose Bay blueberry crossed into that grapefruit we were just talking about.
Oh my god, yeah,
It
that
is
shit's.
wonderful.
He made a couple of cool crosses, like the that gooseberry blueberry to his cheese BX. So that motherfucker, I'm looking through it right now. Maybe it'll put off that blueberry cheesecake because this cheese is really good shit. I know that he worked hard to get on and working on that. But the blueberry's a gift. The blueberry is a gift. You fucking get that shit. It's sweet, good ass blueberry. That fucking Tennessee Goose Bay blueberry. You're not gonna, you don't have to fuck around. You can target it.
It definitely added to the grapefruit in a good way.
I'm curious because that, like, the grapefruit web of his was a super killer grapefruity deal. And when I crossed it to grapefruit badass from Ice River Genetics, they it's a fucking killer plant. Still not as 45-day fast or 50-day fast as the pure grapefruit web, but it had fucking double that grapefruit flavor. So
This one still retained the grapefruit, but that blueberry added so much bag appeal and color to it.
almost added juice. I'd like to think it added juice flavor to
Yeah,
it.
well, and that's the other thing is that blueberry, it didn't get rid of the grapefruit, but it did accent it. Like it's definitely got a heavy blueberry there, but it's playing along with the grapefruit. Really nice.
Got to be more grapefruit, like what I was saying earlier. I'm gonna be this afternoon. I'm gonna go grab a fucking 20-year-old cut of pure island sweet skunk.
Oh
Get
yeah,
with
we
maybe
gotta
that
talk about
grapefruit,
that.
the grapefruit web, grapefruit badass crosses that I got. Or I'll BX a little bit on the older. I had that island sweet skunk one time. It was a hard to manage plant. It grows 6 inches a day. I actually grew it in the greenhouse at first. When hit the 8-foot mark, I realized I was fucked. So I flowered the damn thing to NL1, trying to control these genetics on that runaway bitch. And NL1 will generally squat everything or put 50% or more in that category. It'll show its influence really strong. It's a fairly well inbred Afghani. So the island sweet skunk, it overran the NL1. So
Oh
I
wow.
just started like 25 seeds 2 or 3 days ago of that island sweet skunk NL1.
It's
Go
been
grab
a
that
while
cut.
since I've encountered it. Wasn't that island sweet skunk pretty fucking short plant to begin with, but it branched out pretty bushy?
Fuck, I don't know about that. This is old original genetics here, and it's
Yeah, beyond my time.
Greek. It's known. He's saying it's probably the wildest thing he fucking houses. Other things that were like that for me were really good was like 07, I got a hold of Space Jill. That I grew also chocolate, the original D line. It was labeled
Oh,
up as D
nice.
line. I had fucking Space Jill and D line, and I'm indoors growing this shit. And I read the write ups. That's one of the few times in the world I'd get on those forums. I researched this, and I go, man, I gotta have that. Then I go grab it, and they were warning that if you don't, the chocolate, it was like they said 4-foot minimum height, and don't grow it under lights or you get overrun and shit. So I started at 18 inches. It's going to be great. Well, it's solid, went to 4 fucking foot. It is a serious, big, long cola biomass, not out of control, but man, it is what they said, 100%. But the Space Joe, it grows 6 inches a day if you had it tuned in and it was feeding and had root zone. You could dwarf it for sure and kind of keep it a little bit slow, but that's what I call a biomass producer. It's almost an out of control fucking indoor plant. You have a hard. It's funny. She's trying to reproduce right now or go back to any of her original Space Jill close as she can to Vic High's gift that they had picked up. So she's running through her was I have a few packs of it actually left. I used to wholesale for them, and I'd bought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fucking packs of. I was just running the shit out of their gear just because I was getting it, at wholesale, and I could just run through it. She's trying to reproduce her original Space Queen or Space Jill right now. The Space Bomb, that's what she's going through. Packs of Space Bomb, which was like the last Space Jill production. So if anybody has original Space Jill packs or original old fucking Space Queen, kick that shit to her. That'd be probably help her out a lot. Man, that's good weed. That original Space Jill was fucking damn good.
You're looking for Space Jill, not Space Queen, or is it the same thing?
Either one. Well, most, the Space Dude, the male version of Space Queen, that's what fucking like all of his breeders produced. Everything came out of that one fucking deal. The original Space Jill seeds I got was like the fucking F1, right off F1-ish or whatever. The shit was fire. It was like different. Weed changes and everybody breeds it. You're going to get a slightly different expression 2 or 3 environments later. It's not the fucking same. And then they never kept a clone ever. All they would do is grow from seed every single generation because they didn't have room to keep the clones. So it definitely had, I'm not going to say generational shift, but it's fucking changed. So original Space Jill was a fucking good product. That's some of the things I crossed back in like 07 and 08 was like I made Tropalope, which was, just D-line and Space Jill. It was like, goddamn, dairy. You ain't gonna, it was like, really good, strong killer, tasty, look good.
Nice. I would love to go through that chocolate trip, some of those old lines like that. The chocolate.
Man, anytime you mention
like
chocolate, I'm gonna fucking get your like dangling on a hook. You want to catch a fish, you put chocolate on that damn hook because there ain't enough chocolate in the world. I tried that Escobar's chocolate. Was that the chocolate trip? Was Escobar's? Somebody sent me a pack of that. I fucking tried it. Right. It wouldn't germ. It wouldn't germ for me. It was really old. I was just so disappointed. I'm doing some chocolate tie right now. I mean, I have a few pictures of it. That's
what I'm getting mixed up is the chocolate tie. We did go through the chocolate tie. I never got to grow the chocolate.
Yeah, there's not enough good chocolate tie. If chocolate tie, I want one that's like the one when I smoked a lot of pot when I was very young, say 10 years old, because there was a guy around. Back then, people were so different and chill. It was like people on the radio with like the Eagles and fucking people were like chill. It was so much different. But a guy was getting a bunch of ounces of weed. They didn't call it ounces of weed. They call it lids. He's buying lids of weed, having me de-seed it, de-stem it, and roll joints for him. And I was like, at like 10 years old, I had very nimble fingers, very fucking good at it. He would give, funny, he was using the old zigzag wheat papers, which were yellow. He would tell everybody that nothing causes cancer except the paper and the thing. And he would say that wheat papers didn't cause cancer. It's this fucking guy. So anyway, it's $5 a lid and $10 a lid for import weed, which was generally brick. Some of it wasn't super compressed, some was. But I would roll the shit out of that.
Where was it coming from at that time for you?
I think at this point that was in Oregon, so it was just I don't know where the fuck it would have been coming from. When I was in Washington a little bit, I knew where it was coming from. There's a lot of Mexican imports straight through the Columbia River. When I was in Oregon, I don't know where that import came from.
I was right when I started getting into it. I was right at that time where most of it was Mexican, but we had just started getting some like good green bud, some kind bud from.
It was different. Well, we never
Canada.
saw that back then. This was the pure original fucking paraquat-ish type of old fucking shit Mexican. Half of it had had some crap in it, and wasn't good, but it was cheap. It was like this was like got to be 878 or something. And I was smoking that. Here's what the deal was. He'd give me like 2 joints if I rolled up like 30, and I'd get about 30 joints out of one of them lids. So I was rolling the shit. He'd like go grab his 60 joints and go give me a couple of them. So me and my friend would like go smoke it. And it was such poor fucking weed. I don't even know that it really got us high. You get about as high as fucking tobacco because I got I got spun out from tobacco at that point hard, so I'd say it was equal to some tobacco high, and I didn't enjoy it.
I've got to ask you a question. Back then, way beyond my time, were you smoking the seeds in your joints?
No, I knew to clean it out. That's why
Okay.
that guy was having me roll, was because he didn't want to deal with the fucking amount of work it was to fucking de-seed a lid of that weed, you know.
Right.
No, seeds were give you a straight up fucking headache, and it'd be, you know, popping and fizzing, and
Yeah.
oh my god. No, I tried to smoke fucking seeds at 1 or 2 times desperation as a child, thinking after I already knew what weed was out of weed, thought I could go to get high off of seeds and tried to smoke it. That's how, you know, at 10, 11, it's like I realized that, oh my god, it's like oil, pure oil and bark.
Right.
Oh, you can't do it. But I had been smoking the crappy joints, and I'm babysitting. Funny as this is in about 80s, in about 78. I'm babysitting my mother's friends' children, and I think I'm about 12 years old. Maybe I'm about 12. Yeah. But they had some. I know they're bikers, and back then bikers were pretty hardcore people. But they had some weed. I can call it Thai bud, and it was on a fucking stick. It was like on a actual literal bamboo stick, laced with like a fucking string from the whole length of the main stem, the apical stem. Is like hemp string basically, and that's what that shit was all bound up with. So they told me I could smoke some weed. They knew I was smoking. My mom was pretty liberal because that's how I ended up. It was her friend that I was rolling all the joints from. And then, you know, they would go out on a Saturday night, go to some live jams at some country fucking bars and shit. And she's like, well, you can smoke a joint if you want. And the shit would just never get me high. Anyway, I'm babysitting for these people. They say, well, here's a little bit of pot if you want to smoke it. So untied it. I untied the shit. I crumbled it up. I rolled the fucking joint. Took about 3 hits, and it hits me. The first thing hit me is the taste. It was original real chocolate Thai. It actually had fucking like licorice, chocolate, leather. It was fucking a delicious, just almost like an incense type of a flavor. And then that weed hit me. I don't remember 2 to 3 hours fucking of the whole fucking event. I should have never been taken care of. Fucking these people are crazy if they let some fucking 12-year-old
here's some pot, watch our kids
and watch kids. They didn't care about their fucking kids because I literally lost. There's a time portal. I lost 3 hours. Aliens could have fucking grabbed me that 3 hours. I don't know because I wasn't there. But I fucking never. Then I got high. You know, from then on, it triggered in me that weed made me high after that. So I knew what levels of the strength was. But it's weird. Some of the times at first, if you smoke, it really does not affect you.
The first time I smoked, I didn't get high at all.
Yeah, but a long time ago, it was such shit weed. I think if a fucking
That's
say
true.
a 6th grader gets a hold of the Mac right now, I think they got high.
Right.
I think they fucking got off the school bus, smoked 1 hit of that shit, and fucking went to the shed, and they found them sleeping in the shed. Fucking, you know, that's the difference in what we've had.
That little bastard just looks you in the eye and says, I didn't feel nothing, man.
Oh, funny shit, man.
No, the whole reason I asked behind that is because one day we were talking about, I don't even remember who was involved, but my old man was around. And I said, I remember some of that first stuff that we were buying. It was Mexican stuff. We call it mersh. And we'd put it on a paper plate, grind it up, you know, and just kind of tap the back of the plate and let the seeds fall out from the weight. And my old man, he's about your generation. And he goes, fuck, we just rolled that shit and smoked it.
Holy shit.
I was like,
so
God,
annoying.
yeah. I'm like, God damn, man, that's hard.
Now and then. You know how weird.
Oh, it happens, yeah.
We have so much seed weed that me and my partner, it's a running joke with us that we miss one. And if you take a drag and you start to know it's starting to burn, you'll instantly know. And you just like get it puffing just a tiny bit more and make sure it's like scorching and then just pass it to that motherfucker. You don't know what it is.
Yeah, you're about to get that firecracker.
He does it to his old lady all the time. He's like, honey, see here.
Oh, that's too much. Oh, man.
Shit, true story here. Listen, at 17 Bernardino, my buddy Falconer is showing me around and meet people. I don't know anybody but industry or strains or nothing. And he brings me over to fucking JJ and fucking Mr. Soul were sharing a booth. I didn't know JJ or didn't know sour diesel or nothing. He knew JJ because this guy bought 100,000 plus worth of fucking packs from all of these breeders. He'd get like pre-drops and shit. So he brings me and AK Rizzo and over to JJ's booth and introduce, and he's like, "Hey, you want to smoke a joint?" He rolls fucking joint of sour diesel and we're hitting it. They're like, 4 of us, 5 of us, and but the second round, man, big old pop goes off. The fucking seed bursts and like a volcano, and it's like we all laugh and this kind of shit, and it's like, oh my God, I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me roll another. It's like, no, dude, we're
No,
good.
you're good. Yeah.
And I got to taste it before it fucking did that shit, and we walked off and we were laughing a little bit and shit, and just like super comical. But I don't remember if it was fucking Falcon or fucking Rizzo. He goes, "Pop dog."
Oh damn,
it's funny. But I had never smoked that sour diesel before that fucking 17 right then and there. I got to smoke his, so I didn't know shit about diesels before that.
That's awesome.
I smoked a few different diesels. I've tried a bunch of Taco and AJ's and Albany and what the fuck might have been another one. But I had never been a big diesel fan before, but it's pretty good. If you have that as like 1 of 10 or 15 in a jar, say you're going out fishing and then you smoke like 5 of one type and then you just want to go off a whole different scale, you break out a diesel joint. It's a whole different thing.
Diesels are by far one of my favorite types. The way that they affect me. But it's kind of a trade-off because a lot of diesels can grow like motherfucker too.
So you're a bitch.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever got the chance to try P's Huckleberry diesel.
Who? Which one?
Chris, is Huckleberry diesel?
No.
That was amazing. Amazing.
I've only grown like that. Half a dozen things in his pineapple fields, the caramel.
Oh, that one's good.
Or was it caramel haze?
Caramel cough.
Oh, caramel cough. Yes, that's why I meant haze because it had the fucking cough in it. The blue magoo. He gave me a bunch of shit when we first met. I grew it. The best thing I grew, I think, and liked a lot the most was the platinum huckleberry cookies. The original.
The platinum huckleberry cookies.
It's a very original fucking incarnation. I got one that's so OGKB, nothing like any of the others in the packs. You would get that out of the F1 for sure. You'd get a good one. If you found it, it was a good one. And it changed a lot after that. And a lot of people did different selections. That's so weird how one pack can put off 9 of one expression and 1 of another. That guy keeps it, and that whole line is that line. And the other go do different shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one I keep right now, we call it the Kirkland, and because it's fucking my buddy Captain Kirk fucking new houses it all the time, but it's a fucking mainstay go-to for fuck at least 5 years. It's fucking such a consistent good plant. I was down there carry that shit down to Emerald, and it'd be one. I might carry 3 types. And there's all the whatever time period in the world it was with Gorilla Glue fucking wave or OG wave or Cookie wave or Gelato wave or Stills wave, whatever different
whatever it is today.
You would walk through that smoke cloud. It's just common as shit. So Emerald about 18 or whatever. I'm carrying that purple. I was carrying Purple Hindu Kush, the good one that I got from I'm from the Nature Farm. It's a fucking killer old Shasta, old mid 20s old cut of Purple Hindu Kush, but that would hold its own. And that this is fucking platinum huckleberry cookies. It hold its own. Fuck, I'd have pre-rolled joints of that shit, and we'd be meeting strangers, being super social, like being at some phone drop or whatever, and everybody's over there doing their thing, and we'd be like sitting down, chilling, smoke a joint, and a stranger would come along. We're just meeting and talk to them, and they'd take a rip off of that shit, and they would like, whoa, what is that? That's not like everybody else. It's not the fucking. I said, no, that's Chris's platinum huckleberry cookies. It has that really unique certain taste. I'm sure there's slightly different variances because we used to, 2 or 3 years later, got a V3 pack of the same thing, and then he told me it was like way slower veg, way faster bud, way more huckleberry, and he was right. It's the slowest veg in the fucking world. We got a bunch of like trifoliate type of growth out of it, so it was like a super squat biomass pig if you didn't like take off leaves and take off leaves. And we ran that thing 2 or 3 runs, and they were all the same: super slow, super fast, flower, and wasn't nothing like the original that we keep. It's so good though, that thing. The people up here that are friends of his, the Peace Frog Botanical Gardens, I think they consistently run a super killer cut of that platinum huckleberry cookies of his also. If they have a rec market down in Homer, it's a little town 240 miles south of here at the end of the Kenai Peninsula, and a real small community, and that's one of the places they grow and have dispensaries. So they got the market handle growing Chris's shit. In fact, that's almost all exclusively what they grow. Really, really cool that they do that. And then because Homer has a lot of fucking dynasty here. I can fucking honestly say that. You go to a dispensary in Homer, you're fucking buying Chris's shit.
Hell yeah,
That's
that's
the
a
end of
good
the
thing.
road. That's like the capital halibut of the world. This fucking town is known as the capital halibut. I mean, the halibut capital of the world. It's called the end of the road or end of the spit because there's like, it's the end of the fucking peninsula there. You can drive right out to the ocean on the spit to where it's just straight water. But I don't know. I haven't been to their operation. I know fucking Shug, the husband of the couple that runs it. He's a boating fool like us. He's a hunting, fishing, ocean killing fool.
Oh yeah. So a lot of my patrons have been asking about your skunk cabbage. Do you have any new plans to do anything with that?
Yes and no. I've done it for a long time. I think I made that straight up in '08. So it's what is now like fucking, what is that, 12 years or 14 years or some shit. I've had it a long fucking time. But I did just break out some recent frozen seeds that actually didn't have skunk cabbage written on it. It still said fucking crazy train and D-line. So they're one of the first generations. I don't know what it is, F something. I don't even know what the fuck it was, but they're prior to 5. I know that. I started calling it skunk cabbage at 5. And I used to call it A1, but I already had too many A1s. You know, when I'm doing 50 or so seeds, I'll go A through Z and then 1 through whatever. And then when I find the pheno search, I have all that shit written down. And I'd classify them as what's best 1 through 5, and fucking funnier than shit. But 2 or 3 times the number A1 ends up popping up as being the best keeper pheno. So you can't keep calling shit A1. And fuck, there's other A1s in the world. Bodie has maybe a haze. But you know, but Bodie I think has a haze called A1 or something. So people confuse mine, and they go, "What? We're this and that and that." No, my A1's fucking this. It's just it was a number. But number 6 runs in my fucking lines too. I've got 4 different things that ended up being number 6. You know, my Americana, the fucking Ike's Afghani, the GST, which was originally, I call it Jackson Skip originally, strain I got from a 83-year-old dude here. He's still alive. He's in bad health right now. He got into a car accident and spent a year in the hospital with a broken back, and then now he's wheelchair bound, but he's still growing the fucking GST, the guy that originally produced this with his old crew. Pretty tough old cat, but he's going downhill. I'd like to think he doesn't fucking if he can pull out of this shit. His goal is to get out of that wheelchair.
Hell yeah.
He's a good old cat. Him and his guys, just like us would have been with your little local crew. They had a local strain, and they fucking went through it, and they would decide what was what, and they picked that thing after breeding for years, and they all stuck with the number 6. That's what he calls it. He just calls it the number 6. I got to. Can you get me a cut of that number 6? And like, yeah, you know what? I can bring one over in a fucking second for you, old Jackson. Old name Al Jackson, but I call him Jackson. Yeah, he's a good old guy. It's like if you don't hear some of the old fuckers like that, it's gone. He told me a bunch of cool shit about Anchorage retro grow days. Because him and me, he's 35. Fuck, he's what, 30 years older than me. So
So he's seen some shit.
Fuck yeah. He went
So,
through about everything. Those 83-year-olds, if you're still doing it and got a clear mind and shit, they can tell you what was what.
right.
Went through some hard shit and some good shit.
One of our Patreon shiggity flips, he wanted to know, how is your big skunk, and is RKS still on the planning list?
Big skunk? I haven't do tons of shit with big skunk. I have it preserved in a couple of forms, and it's available pretty much pure big skunk, just like it was. Those are commercial type of strains. You know, some of them older shit was made for original commercial. It's not going to be super strong, and you can find killer ones in it. Some of that stock that was older freezer stock, I 4 or 5 years ago sent that shit to Jackson, to Mean Gene, and he reproduced a bunch of it outdoors. And the way he's so meticulous, he listed, when he breeds, he grab all the ones he liked, male wise, put them on whatever females, which were going to be whatever. But he listed what their preferences were for exhibition of shit, and one or two were, like he said, PM was everywhere. Fuck, just stick some plants, other strains, and even these bad PM, but one or two wouldn't even get PM. And then he noted that shit for me, so I was able to breed another generation out in my greenhouse from the ones that said PM resistance. And they were, man, it made a hell of a difference, because big skunk was a PM pig. If you grew it indoors, I'm not PM, but fuck, you get botrytis really easy. You get a
Yeah.
big, thick, nice bud, and at 6 weeks in, you're happy as shit. And at 8 weeks in, the fucker wilts a little bit in browning, and you realize it just slough right off the fucking plant before you
Yep.
could even catch it. So we'd kill it at 7 weeks early every fucking time. We just had to kill it early. But yeah, big skunk is just like a mainstay. It's in a cross that I like a whole lot, Americana, which was our original NL5, and I crossed the big skunk NL1. That's Americana's fucking killer, because I worked with it. I don't know. We had 15,000 fucking seeds of it, and still have, my partner still has a jar of the original 1990 F1 Americana. He's the one that named it, because it was like a joke. It was a big group of 300 of them fucking seeds, and we culled off all of the males. So we had about 150 or 120, I'd say, real nice females. Culled every male. We're just trying to make a nice room of fucking killer weed. And the story. 5 weeks in, start seeing seeds every fucking where. It was like, what the fuck? Looking for herms. No herms. Get about 50 plants back, there's a little shorty that fucking grew up right next to fucking one of them girls, a little spindly, single-stalked fucking male that came in late and did his fucking thing, polluted every girl of 100, 120 of them fuckers or something. So when we just shucked it out, we got the killer hash, and it was really fucking good hash too, because I have photos of the hash, and was able to share it with Jack Hare, fucking Steve Hagar, and fucking Jack Hare up here.
Damn,
Here's a good
nice.
story. Listen, here's a good story. I'm going to try to not fucking talk about 1 million hours on this, but they're promoting
We got
the
time.
Emperor Wears No Clothes book that Jack had written. And Steve Hagar, the editor of High Times, and him are on tour promoting the book, and they have a symposium up here, even at our Performing Arts Center downtown. This full blown shit, and everybody went down and fucking got to listen to the show and listen to him talk and explain the fucking how bad we have been fucked on hemp, and from the beginning, how the whole thing went down, the benefits that hemp could do the world. I'm like, he's selling this shit, and we knew already. We're like, we are nuts, dude. We are like, we're pissed. We're like revolutionists about this shit back in fucking the 80s. So we are we're all behind him. And anyway, this is like 89, in the summer of 89. And they get to go visit different gardens and fucking play around and visit. Anyway, I give them a half ounce of the hash, which was near bubble hash, of that production from the Americana crop. And we didn't call it Americana back then, but he went on his deal a couple days, meeting other people. We met about the third day, and he's like, I didn't think he'd ever smoke that shit. It was super expansive and it's super fucking strong. So I thought it would last the whole time and he's going to smoke other people's weed. He comes on the third day we met up. He's completely out of it, asked if he can get any more. I don't know how he fucking smoked that shit because it was that strong, but his tolerance was truly fucking insane because he smoked all the other fucking best weed that people were displaying for him and all that I gave him of that fucking killer hash. And it was amazing. But we got to there's an initiative to illegalize marijuana. In 1975, what happened was a lawyer named Raven intentionally was arrested with a couple joints to go to jail and then fight this in court that he had the right to smoke pot. So this big battle goes out. He wins in local court, goes to the state Supreme Court and wins. And because of that, what the deal was, they ruled that Alaskans have the right to privacy, and it would override a privacy in their own home. This is, it would override a suspected illegality. The right to have privacy in your own home would override the fact that a cop thinks you're smoking pot indoors. So they write it in the Constitution that it is legal to fucking possess marijuana. They wrote it up as 16 plants and 4 ounces in your own home. You can do this. In 1975, it became a law up here. So you couldn't transport it. So you still get not no felony shit for transportation, but a misdemeanor fine. It wasn't an infraction. It was a misdemeanor. So it's still pretty big trouble. You could get like fucking 30 to 90 days or something and $1,000 fine. It was pretty hairy shit. So, and bigger, the worst. And anything over 16 plants and 4 ounces was turning into trouble. So in 1990, a bunch of really stodgy people that are starting to move up here from other places decided it should be illegal to have marijuana. They don't want the shit, and they think, they don't want their fucking children there. So they get a initiative going, ballot initiative, enough people to sign it to outlaw marijuana in Alaska. So we as patriots, we all had tri-cornered hats, and we're like, at the time, you look in the late 80s, high times, this is going on in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and shit. There's all these people that are like protesting and let's make marijuana legal. Everybody's wearing tri-cornered hats. So that was like our symbol and kind of our moniker. And Jack is up here promoting his book, Emperor Wears No Clothes, and he decides to help with, that kind of help with the fight on the initiative, which was going to be in the November vote. Make it illegal to vote, but make it illegal to smoke. But at that point in time, we were all rallying. There was a group of guys from the States which did more harm than good because they were all the type that wanted to use wheat paste and post flyers, vote no on the initiative. And they did this shit around town on private property, on walls, on electrical, big electrical boxes that are like city owned, and fence posts and fences and posts, like light posts. They're wheat paste is impossible to fucking get off. So they did this they're like doing almost environmental terrorism shit, damage, more harm than good. The people go, oh, look at this. I'm going to vote no. Well, the owner of that fucking fence that tried to scrape the fucking wheat paste flyer off his shit is pissed fucking off. So it was super. It became negative more than anything. So, but during that little rally point, all of us as a huge group got to go down to the Denny's. There's a couple Denny's up here, but there's one on Burgos Street. It's still there today. It's like, regular Denny's. They have a fucking big main like area, and then the back convention room. And we got to go have our meeting or whatever the fuck it was in the convention room. And somebody at one point decides to fucking start smoking. And it turned into a full-blown fucking smoke fest in the Denny's restaurant. They served us. We kept ordering. They kept ordering. We, as stoners, so we ordered every fucking thing on the fucking menu, and they kept just letting us do it. And it was crazy. It's like the first known indoor smoke out that's probably ever happened fucking up here for real.
A dangerous story for you to tell.
No, it is. It's so normal and good. No, but at one point it was leaking out. You know, every time they enter through the conference room doors, the smoke was just belching out into the fucking main area. And at one point, after about 3 hours, customers were complaining that the fucking smoke was just fucking them up, and they shut us down on the smoke. So, but it's an epic fucking thing that happened right there. We were rallying, and it was all like for the cause. We ended up losing the initiative. Fucking to end the story, it goes illegal. 1990, the fucking shit goes illegal. Illegal to smoke marijuana after fucking since 1975. We've always had the right just to grow your own and smoke your own. So it's like super illegal at this point. And fucking snitchy ass neighbors and people that know what you used to do are going to fucking turn you in. And
Right.
the DEA's up here thick as fuck because Green Merchant just went off and is still fucking going on. They're embedded like hell. So it's scary fucking times in Alaska. And somebody fucking sues that it is illegal to change the fucking Constitution with an initiative ballot that goes to court, and fucking they reverse the initiative. So we party, we rally. Fucking Alaska is 100% fucking legal again to smoke, and to shut those fucking whiny, people that were basically hockey moms, and call them now. They were like soccer moms from
Soccer
California.
moms.
They came up here, and you got to call them hockey moms once you move up here. So, but it was that's who made that initiative, and just like evil marijuana. Well, fuck, it's a normal fucking non-fucking harmful thing. Besides just the medical aspect is insane. So weird though how the evolution of Alaska has gone.
That concludes the first part of the epic 3-hour podcast with AKBeanBrains. I hope you took away from this as much as I did. You learned something along the way, and you had a lot of fun listening. If you're a fan of the show, you want to help support it, come check us out on Patreon. For only $10 a month, you can get behind-the-scenes content, extra bonus content from past, previous, and future episodes, game day giveaways, seed giveaways, and more. Come check us out on Patreon. You can find us at www.patreon.com/doc_Calyx. I hope to see you there, and we'll catch up soon. Until next time, this is Doc Calyx saying good night and grow right. I'll catch y'all on the next one.